right, so the reason for this project is that we have a pretty good foundation of a home gym. We've accumulated some desired materials over the years, like a squat rack with a pull-up bar, adjustable dumbbells, a barbell, some bumper plates, and we just haven't really found a great strategy for organizing the bumper plates, which can be pretty cumbersome because there's two 45-pound plates, two 35-pound plates, two 25-pound plates, and two 10-pound plates, plus some little baby fractional plates. So we've tried a holder that would be on the floor. I think it's called like a tree, like a plate tree, but it just takes up a lot of floor space. So another option we tried was just trying to stack them on the floor vertically, but as you can imagine, it had a sort of domino effect. And then our final solution in this current house was a plastic tub that we would just place them in, and they're vertical, and it was okay, except just still kind of sticky. Obviously, like most impactful on deadlift days when we're using the 45s, and then just having to kind of plop them back on the floor in this tub. So that led us to seek alternative storage strategies, which led us to looking on Amazon, and then we found like the solution we ended up with.
So what we ended up doing was using a backer board, the kind that people use when they mount TVs on their wall. That's where I got the idea. Backer boards are really good because you can run them across multiple studs, so the weight distribution is really good. And then it also lets you place the content on the backer board wherever you want, so you don't have to aim for a stud. That's kind of the point. So we ended up getting 4 weight holders so it could hold all of our plates, and we put them equidistant from one another on a 4x4 piece of plywood. We got a 4x8 from Home Depot. We spaced them out such that there was enough space for the plates to sit on the pegs while they were still equidistant from one another. We used screws to put them into the drywall, and then we used carriage bolts on the other side so we could mount the weight holders on the carriage bolts as they stuck through the backer board, away from the wall. The way I sized the carriage bolts were that I measured the diameter of the opening inside of the weight holders, and that got me to 3/8. If you fast forward to the end of the video, you'll see the carriage bolts we used were just a bit too long for this setup. So the weight plates bump up a little bit against the carriage bolts, and it's not really hurting anything. But if I could do it again, I would just get shorter carriage bolts. Alternatively, I can just go over there with an angle grinder and cut the bolts down. So maybe we'll do that. But that's about it. You'll see the technique to get the carriage bolts into the plywood so they're not wedged between the board and the wall. That's really important so you don't damage your wall. If it's drywall, you don't have a bunch of nubs if you ever have to take it off. And then the other thing we had to do was paint it so it was sealed from weather, because a garage has a lot of humidity that fluctuates, and it's not good to have wood pressed up against drywall for a long time because moisture will build up and could mold.
And yeah, here's the video with our progression.
So before we started recording, I drilled these holes here that the bolts would go through. And I had found that they were too small for the carriage bolts. So here I just did a quick check with a new drill bit to make sure it was the appropriate size. It was really important to get the exact size and not a size larger, because the way the bolts are pulled in to the drilled holes, they need to be able to bite with that little box that's on the underside of the carriage bolt head. So you can see here, drill the hole, did a quick fit test, and that one worked. These carriage bolts are 3/8. I had to rotate the piece because I need to drill off the side of the table. Now you can see here, I'm going through, I pre-drilled some pretty small holes, and now I was going through and I was drilling out the little inset in which the carriage bolt head would be sitting. You can see Krista in the background. She's pre-drilling the holes in the studs based on our design for this piece. So this is my quick test here for the first one. I shoved it in. I went down with my phone just to show you how this works. I should have put a washer on here. You'll see why soon. But I take my impact wrench, you tighten the bolt, and then what it does is it pulls the carriage bolt head through that inset. And this keeps the bolt from bumping up against the wall whenever it's mounted. Because remember, this is going to be on the side pressed up against the wall. Now that I know that works, I go through with my my bit here and I drill out some more material because that first bolt didn't go in as deep as I wanted it to. Did one more test before confirming that that was the correct depth I should be hollowing these bays out to. Now we're going through, placing every carriage bolt into these drilled holes. And that's so we can flip this board over and then do to each one of those bolts what I just did to those first two. Now I had already mistakenly drilled in a nut without a washer on it, and that's when it chewed into the wood. So this was actually after I pulled those off, then we threw down all the washers. You can see in the top right, that bolt has some wood missing from it. Now we're just doing a quick fit test. Confirmed, so we can tear all this down and then get ready to paint it. This is day 2 in my backyard. We got rained out on day 1, so I wasn't able to paint it, which was very annoying. So I'm taping off the bolts, and then I'm going to be using my cool little paint gun we got from Amazon. I cannot recommend these paint guns enough. They save a ton of time. The only catch is you have to keep up with the maintenance. Because like if you have a paintbrush or a paint roller, you can just throw them away. But this you actually have to clean, regardless of what kind of paint you have in there. This paint we're using is not latex paint, so it takes extra long to cure, but it's just really nice, even though this is just regular plywood. I'm just going through here and doing the borders, and then in a moment I'll be done and I'll leave it to dry for a couple hours. All right, now this is a little later in the day. I spun it around so I could paint the other side. You can see my paint gun's a little jammed. Remember I said maintenance was very important. This is one of the reasons why. The paint was sitting in that bowl for a little too long a few weeks ago, and so there's just little chunks in there. And I've just been too lazy to actually like take it apart and clean it. But that's what needs to happen, or else you kind of got to keep doing this because a chunk gets caught into the intake, and then it just sticks the whole thing. All right, this is the final day. This was in the evening when everything finally cured. Krista and I, we brought it into the garage. We put in the first lag. You can see I'm lining it up with one of the holes that Krista pre-drilled a couple days ago. Once the first one is in, it's pretty easy. We just put in the rest. They match up perfectly. She did a great job. Then at this point, all we do is we split it up. So I'm drilling in the screws, and then she's taking the tape off. Here I'm just making sure it's flush with the wall. So once that's done, we can actually mount these weight pegs. And I'm using a hand wrench here instead of the impact because a couple reasons. The first one is it's just really hard to get an impact in there at this angle with those pegs sticking out. And the second reason is I actually don't want to over tighten these. I want to be pretty gentle. So hand tight is totally fine because these just don't have a lot of forces that could remove them. And then here's the final check, the weight test. High five from lady off camera. And now I pull the camera up here just so you can see one of the issues with the length of the bolts we had is that they are poking into the weights just a little bit. So it's not going to hurt anything, but we would have to cut these bolts or just get some shorter ones to actually have the weights as far back as possible.
Well, and there you have it. We didn't really have any complications. It went better than I expected it to go, just because I was kind of unsure of the process. It's been like 2 weeks since we installed it, something like that, and it's worked great. There's been no problems. It still bears the load. There's no give. No very sagging or anything like that. Backer boards are nice because they give you extra options for decorations. You can make them different colors. You can run lights around them. So I think the space is a lot more nice. And then also the height of the weights are really great. So it makes it easy to pull them off the wall, put them back on the wall. Yeah, that was a consideration. We no longer have to bend over into a giant plastic container to pull a 45-pound plate out. Just about all the hardware we used is linked below. But hopefully that makes it easy to recreate this whole process. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Any questions about how to install a backer board, let us know. Thanks. Thanks for watching. See you next time. I figured that you were gonna set up the camera. And
Yeah, buddy.
Hey guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Tiny Mike. This is so funny. Hey.
Yeah, I really like it.
This is
My
great.
fist. Ryan, can you weigh in?
After that devastating loss. Okay.
What does the home improvement sound? You know.
Yeah. Oh. I like this on microphone.
I know.
Welcome to Tiny News with Ryan.
Here for all your tiny stories. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.